Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we are doing the Adames versus Sheeraz breakdown and prediction video as Carlos Adames, the reigning WBC middleweight champion of the world at 160 pounds, is set to make the second defense of his title when he battles his undefeated mandatory challenger Hamza Sheeraz, as they will collide on the stacked DAZN pay-per-view Riyadh season card called The Last Crescendo and headlined by the Beterbiev versus Bivol rematch for the undisputed light heavyweight championship of the world. This will be on the undercard. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So, if you haven't seen my breakdown videos before, basically, I break down the fight in full detail. I look at both fighters. In this situation, it's a title fight. There's a champion, there's a challenger. So we would start with the champion, Adames, and then ask the same things and talk about the same things with Sheeraz second. At the end of the video, after I get into the fight, the fighters, I ask one final question, and then I give my prediction. So let's jump into it. What does this fight mean? What is at stake? So you have... First, let's go into the dimensions. That's the one new thing with the breakdown videos. I'm going to talk about the dimensions going in. So you have Adames 24-1 right now. Only loss of his career came years ago to Patrick Teixeira by a split decision, where they fought for the WBO interim junior middleweight title at 154. Then you got Sheeraz 21-0. Perfect record. Sheeraz is coming in the favorite, and Adames is a slight underdog right now. Adames is 30 years old. Sheeraz is 25. The height and reach advantage, well, the height advantage is a 4-inch height advantage for Sheeraz. The reach, not 100% sure because it doesn't have a reach here that I'm looking at for Sheeraz. But going into this fight, I think a lot of people are picking Sheeraz in this one. To win because he's so, you know, he did such a good job. He's such a big middleweight. But this fight, a lot is at stake here. First, the WBC title, a mandatory fight right here. So basically the winner of this fight can do what they want after that. They are not in mandatory mode. So whoever wins this fight, they're going to be in a great spot to explore other things. And already, Janibek Alamanhalai has made it clear he wants to fight the winner of this fight and unify belts. And Janibek holds both the IBF and the WBO belts. Oh, excuse me. WBA champion Erislandy Lara is coming off of his first 2-fight year in forever and looked good in both of his fights. So even at 41, this guy's ready to roll against whoever. So a lot is at stake, and I truly believe the #1 spot in the division is on the line in this fight. Janibek, who's my current #1, and Lara, my current #2, they haven't beaten anybody of real significance at middleweight in a while or at all to take that spot. Right now, they're just slightly ahead because of what they've done in their career. But a victory for Adames or Sheeraz, because these two guys are top 4. I think I got Adames at #4 and I got Sheeraz at #3. A victory here moves them past the #1 and puts them on a collision course with whoever they want. So they'll be able to control the division, the winner of this fight. And it's just such a big fight right here. And I'm really excited to see it, and especially the card that it's on. So a lot at stake. But let's start with the champion, Carlos Adames, and talk about him coming into the fight. So first off, as we always do, we're going to go back and look at the last 3 fights for this fighter. His last 3 fights date back to October of 22, when he captured the interim title, the WBC interim title, with a 3rd-round TKO of Juan Montiel. You know, that really made him the mandatory challenger to Jermall Charlo. He waited around. He didn't fight for 10 and a half months until June of 23, where he would defend the interim title against former unified junior middleweight champion Julian J. Rock Williams. He came in a heavy favorite in this one and actually struggled a bit with Williams. He was outworking him, but he didn't look great. But Williams did get stunned in the 9th round. But when Adames jumped on him, he really wasn't landing nothing of significance, and Williams seemed to have gotten his feet back under him. He seemed fine, and the referee jumped in, stopping the fight. Very controversial stoppage, but Adames would retain the interim belt and move forward. Then he would return after a year off because he kept waiting around for Charlo. Just a few weeks before his defense against Terrell Gausha in June of 24, the WBC stripped Charlo and and upgraded Adames to full champion. And then he fought Gausha and did not look great in that fight. I mean, that was a close fight, a lot closer than they scored it. Gausha fought well, but Adames was a heavy favorite going into that fight. And he walked away with a unanimous decision, but it wasn't a pretty one. Really was a workman-like type decision win. And, you know, he's the champ still. But honestly, I think Adames believes in himself and he's hungry. I have no doubt about that. But, you know, I have not liked what I've seen out of Carlos Adames. You know, he's got a couple decent wins on his resume. His loss to Teixeira was a close fight back in 2019. Even though he was a favorite going in. He has a close majority decision win over Derevyanchenko in 21. So, you know, he's got a couple nice wins, but I don't know. He hungry, yeah. I definitely think he wouldn't have taken the fight. Well, he kind of had to take the fight because Sheeraz was his mandatory challenger, and it's a huge opportunity. But I definitely think he hasn't looked good in his last 2 fights. His last 2 performances, he hasn't looked great. So I guess we're going to see if he can bring out the best in himself in this fight. Now, what does he need to do to win this fight? He needs to use the angles and use his reach, because he does have a good reach, but he needs to try to land a big shot on Sheeraz early and see if he can hurt him. I think if he does that, and also a body attack, he's got to work the body of Sheeraz and wear down this big guy. That's his keys to victory right there. If he can do that, maybe he has a chance of winning. So, next question is, can Carlos Adames win this fight by knockout? Honestly, I'm going to answer the second and the third question, which is, can he win a decision, and what's more likely, decision or knockout? I don't think he can win a decision at all. That's my honest opinion. I cannot see him outworking Sheeraz to a decision. I think the only way Adames can win this fight is by a knockout, if he catches Sheeraz and knocks him out. So I just made it faster and answered that full honesty. I think he's got a very slim chance. Let's say 90-10, 95-5% to beating Sheeraz by a decision. But I absolutely think the best chance of victory for him is by knockout. Excuse me. So, what does a victory mean for Carlos Adames? Well, it means everything. Sheeraz is the hottest middleweight in the world right now. He took over and really made a statement claim in 2024 and moved into the top 3 after not even being ranked in the middleweight division. Three solid ass wins, and threw his name down. You know, fought on 2 Riyadh season cards, knocked out a great former champion, Liam Williams. So if Adames can knock this guy off and score a win, he's the #1 guy in the division, and he's going to dictate terms. So absolutely, especially if it's a convincing win. But even a close win, I don't think a lot of people are thinking that Adames is going to win this fight. So a victory here would be the biggest of his career, and it would be such a statement win that he is a legitimate world champ and the champ, sitting at the top of the division, and he can rule the court and call shots at middleweight for sure. What does a loss mean for Adames? I honestly don't think a lot of people are predicting him to win this fight. So if he loses, is it going to hurt him really bad? I don't think so. But also that depends on how he loses. If he gets destroyed by Sheeraz, you know, obviously he's going to have to start from the back and work his way up. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to hurt him overly too bad, but he's definitely going to have to start from scratch and work his way back up. And that might take a while because he's not super active. He fights in the PBC, and none of their guys are really that active. You know, so it's going to be interesting to see how he comes back from a loss, you know, if he loses the middleweight title. So, but he's still going to get opportunities because he's a former champion and he's a beatable guy with a beatable style. You know, so I do think guys will try to use him as that, you know, stepping stone type thing if he does lose. So now we're going to switch over to the undefeated mandatory #1 contender, Hamza Sheeraz, and we're going to break him down. We're going to go back and look at Sheeraz's last 3 fights that were all in 2024, starting with his February first round TKO victory over former world title challenger Liam Williams. This one was crazy because you knew he was coming in as the favorite, even though he was, you know, undefeated and Williams had a resume. So nobody was surprised that he beat him. But the fact that he put him down with the first shot that he landed and then just fucking destroyed a very solid former contender in Liam Williams was just like, wow, what the hell just happened? I was surprised as hell. Liam Williams is a tough motherfucker. He'd been 12 rounds with Liam Smith twice. Good fights. He fought Demetrius Andrade hard. So, you know, a middle to later round stoppage, okay. But first round, that just set the tone for Hamza Sheeraz. And then he would get a major opportunity as he would fight on the 5 versus 5 card as part of Riyadh season in June. And even had more pressure as Queensberry and Frank Warren made him the team captain. So his win was the most important in terms of the points and how they had it set up against Matchroom as he took on fellow undefeated contender Austin Williams. And this one was a good one because he broke down a good fighter in Austin Williams. Austin Williams had his moments. He was able to land shots and was doing okay, but Sheeraz just broke him down, boxed, hit him with body shots, and broke him down, kept landing, finally stopping Austin Williams in the 11th round. An impressive win, in my opinion, maybe the best win of his career. You can argue that in Liam Williams to this point because it was on such a big card against a fellow undefeated middleweight on the rise, and he really broke him down and stopped him. And then he returned on the all-UK Riyadh season card that was headlined by, what's his name, Dubois and Joshua. Major card. He took on Tyler Denny, who was coming off of an upset victory over Felix Cash, who's an undefeated middleweight on the rise, and he destroyed Tyler Denny, stopping him in only 2 rounds. Impressive performance, and he would remain undefeated. He was in line for to challenge Janabek Alamanhalai. He ended up taking himself out of the running in that fight after the fight got ordered by the WBO, and he decided to go forward with the fight with Adames instead because he was mandatory there as well. He says he's not running for Janabek, but he thinks Janabek's the best. He wants to fight Adames first and then unify with Janabek. That's what he's doing. I think Sheeraz is hungry as fuck. I think him fighting on a 3rd consecutive Riyadh season card gives him another clear advantage, and I think he's ready to rock. I really do think that coming into this fight. Now, what does he need to do to win the fight? He just does not need to get caught by anything big. He doesn't need to do that. He needs to box and break down Adames. He doesn't need to overdo it. Adames is not a super active fighter, so he can throw the jab, he can take his time and set the tone and break him down. And I think that's the biggest key to victory. Use the height, use the reach, and outwork and just pick apart Carlos Adames, you know, and set it up. But if he goes out there and leaves himself exposed, that could be a mistake. Now, can Sheeraz win this fight by knockout? Absolutely. He's been knocking out everybody. He's got power and he can break somebody down. Absolutely, I think he can win by knockout. Can he beat Carlos Adames by a decision? Absolutely. I think he's the better boxer. I think he's got the height and reach, and I think he could absolutely break down and score a decision over Adames. Now, what is more likely if Sheeraz pulls off the win? Is it by a knockout or a decision? I think it's more likely he knocks him out. I honestly think it's about 80 to 20% that he knocks him out over a decision. What does a victory mean for Hamza Sheeraz? Everything. He becomes world champion for his first time. It would be the biggest win of his career on a monster fucking card, and it sets the tone. I think he, you know, you can say in theory he's the #1 middleweight. He still would have more to prove, but he's in the driver's seat, and he could get anybody he wants in the middleweight division to fight him. You know, he kind of can do that now, but after this, he's in full-on optional mode. He can take on whoever he wants, and if he wants that unification bout against Janibek, it's there, and he'll have the confidence because now he's a world champion too. So a victory means everything for Sheeraz. What does a loss mean for Sheeraz? A loss is devastating. He loses this fight to Carlos Adames, and it takes all that allure, all that mystique away from him, and it really derails him. Now, he's young. He's 25. He's got a chance to come back, but people then will have a judgment made of him of, this guy's not that great. You know, he's good, he's big, but he's not that great. He doesn't want that. So a loss would really hurt Sheeraz in this one. Okay, final question. Is it better for boxing if Carlos Adames stays the middleweight champion, or is it better for boxing if Hamza Sheeraz becomes the WBC middleweight champion? That is easy, 100% across the board. It is better for boxing if Hamza Sheeraz is the new WBC middleweight champion of the world. Why? Because he's the bigger name already. He's undefeated. He's a huge fighter at 6'3" as a middleweight, and he's entertaining as fuck, and he's already on people's mind, and he's undefeated. Once you lose a fight, people can start defining how good you really are, and based on some of your wins. Adames, he's already lost to Patrick Teixeira, who went on to really not do anything after that. He became a champion, Teixeira, but he hasn't won anything significant, and he hasn't made himself a huge name in the sport. He's a stepping stone guy, and that's the guy that beat Adames. His victories, Derevyanchenko, good, solid former world title challenger, close victory. J. Rock Williams, a former champ, so-so kind of win, controversy at the end. Terrell Gausha, I don't think anybody was really impressed. You can make a judgment about Carlos Adames right now. But about Sheeraz, we don't know how good he really is. And another win only keeps that mystique alive about how good is this guy, how good is this guy, keeps building and building. And he's a younger fighter and is better for the future of boxing. So absolutely, it's better for boxing if Hamza Sheeraz wins this fight. So now, what is my prediction? Who's going to win this middleweight championship fight? For me, this might be the most clear-cut choice in my opinion. Even though it's a big fight, I absolutely believe Hamza Sheeraz is going to dominate and stop Carlos Adames in the middle rounds to become the new WBC middleweight champion of the world. I just think the size difference is significant. I also look at how they have fought in their big fights. The confidence rolling in. Adames has not impressed me whatsoever. You know, I'm glad he got his biggest win, in my opinion, the most significant win, was a very close win over Sergey Derevyanchenko. Not a bad win, but Derevyanchenko is not, you know, the cream of the crop anymore. He was a good fighter, and he still is a pretty solid fighter for his age. But that win didn't really do much for me with Adames. Losing to Teixeira. Teixeira's not a guy he should have lost to if he's on that level, that big-time level. And J-Rock, he didn't look good against J-Rock. Didn't look good against Gausha. He doesn't throw a ton of punches. Sheeraz is going to eat his ass up. I think he's going to break him down. I think he's going to box him. And I think he's going to dominate him. Sheeraz is on a roll. He's gifted. He's hungry. And I think he's coming for blood. I think he wants that title. So I absolutely believe Hamza Sheeraz is going to knock out Carlos Adames. I do think Adames has enough power to catch Sheeraz. So I will call him a live dog, but I really think this is going to be the most clear-cut win on this card. The most dominant performance is, in my opinion, it could go to Hamza Sheeraz. So we'll see what happens, but that is my prediction. Hamza Sheeraz by TKO in the middle rounds to become the new WBC middleweight champion of the world. Now, that is it. That's what I got. That is my Adames versus Sheeraz breakdown and prediction video, as they will collide for the WBC middleweight championship of the world at 160 pounds on the last crescendo Better Be It versus Bivol 2 undisputed title rematch undercard as part of Riyadh season, brought to you by DAZN Pay-Per-View. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.